All right, thank you. And thank you, Grace, for doing such a great job on sharing your love for yoginos. So,
I'm sending love you, Grace.
yeah, right. Meredith's known you forever.
Yes.
So I am here with Meredith Blanks Paterson, who is my dear friend and colleague. We've worked together on Yogini's Yoga for You for ages. And we were just talking a bit about mindfulness and yoga on and off the mat, integrating yoga into your tennis game. Really great stuff. And sort of following down that path of thought, would love to hear kind of to go now from the tennis court maybe to your living room and hear a little bit about how you, Meredith, integrate all of this knowledge and practice of mindfulness and yoga on and off the mat into your life as a parent.
Okay. So Beth and I were talking about this a little bit earlier in the week, and so the first thing I want to do is tell you some dirty little secrets, which are, so I think there's this perception that if we're children's yoga teachers that, every day after school, Ruby's my daughter and she's 4.5, that we have this like lovely circle time where we pull out our mats and sing songs, and then she does a beautiful sun salutation and works through a flow, and it's harmonious. And anyway, that's never happened. But
thank you.
And there are a few reasons why. So I honestly, I think if she went to when she goes to other classes that other people teach, it does happen, and she does love it and enjoy it. So that's something to think about when it's your own kid in your own space. It's always different. So the way physical asana yoga looks in our house right now, today, this week, is when I pull out my mat, and I'm doing a training course online right now. So I'm doing classes over video. So I have my computer out and the video's on. I pull out my mat. Ruby pulls out her mat because she does this. And then I do the yoga, and she stares at the screen. And then sometimes she gets up and dances. And then sometimes she climbs on top of me. And it doesn't matter what kind of like crazy balance pose I'm doing. She wants to see if she can knock me over. And then, or sit on some body part to see if that will break my concentration. And then she does that for about 10 minutes and leaves. And then she'll come back and watch it and, whatever. So she knows what I'm doing. She's engaged. She knows that I like it, that it's a passion of mine, and it doesn't have to be hers. And I kind of love that. It's totally free form, with no obligation on anybody's part. But I like that she's absorbing and kind of hearing in the background what it is I'm passionate about and what I'm doing. And she is taking that in, because when she dances, which is just her passion, she loves to dance and make and choreograph things, and just like a lot of 4-year-olds. And I see her talking about how she's moving her body in similar ways to what I was doing in yoga maybe 2 weeks ago. And so it's getting into her brain. So any of you parents who've been in any kind of athletic situation or a class situation with your kids, and they've observed and sat still and watched. So I don't even want to use the word observed, but I want to use the word absorbed. For a lot of kids, that's their learning style, and kinesthetically, and moving while the teacher is moving simultaneously. That's a big step developmentally. And some kids gather more information by watching and by absorbing and by being still. And some kids gather more information by running in circles. And some kids gather that information by moving at the same time as the teacher. And all of those are valid, and no one of those has to be prioritized over another. That was a hard lesson for me to learn as a parent, even though I knew that theoretically going in. So another way that yoga shows up in our life, and I think this is the most important thing I want to say, because Ruby doesn't sit still and meditate. Just like me, her life isn't just this blissful state of meditative calm. She has really, really big emotion. She is really sensitive, and that is age appropriate and developmentally appropriate. And it's so cool to watch her try to navigate the new things that she's learning and the new information that's coming into her body. And that means for us that she has a lot of tantrums, particularly after she's had a busy day where she's been thinking hard and playing hard and doing hard things. And one cool thing about tantrums after school is that they are about trust. The fact that a kid comes home from school and freaks out over who knows what. Yesterday it was because the pipe cleaner was bent twice and not once. But that was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And that means that she trusts me, that she's willing to let go and release those emotions that needed to be released in a safe space with a safe person. That, and if I can get myself into that headspace in that moment, and that is my yoga practice, then she and I can attune to each other and we can help each other through that. If I can understand that she is releasing something and that I don't need to move her out of it more quickly, I don't need to change her mind to convince her of something. My job is to help her feel safe in that space with me and help her feel safe in releasing that. And that is really, truly one of the hardest things you can imagine, because we as adults, like if we see somebody hurting in pain, expressing a big emotion, our instinct and our urge is to comfort them and help them move out of it, right? To help them move away from it. And even as adults, that's not necessarily what we need in that space. I think sometimes that's a reason for disconnect in many relationships. And I'm not perfect at this. There are many times when these tantrums happen when I'm at my wit's end too. So it is a true test of my ability to stay present. And I do my best and I often fail, but my hope is that she and I learn from each other when I do fail, that I can talk. And this is something that Beth taught me in the way that she communicates with her kids. And as she moves through emotions, big things in life, little things in life, she narrates them and tells them, hey, I was just really angry. That was really frustrating for me because of these reasons or for these reasons. And I reacted this way. It may have not been what I wanted to do, but that's just how it happened. And it has, and let's talk about it. And why? Because you might react this way in another time. So I say all that because I feel like the impulse for a lot of people in the world is to talk children out of having these big emotions, or look for tools. And I use that word because we talk a lot about tools in Yoginos, but our tools are not designed to make those things go away. Our tools are hopefully designed so that kids have the internal, so as they move through those emotions, they can take that step away, like I was talking about in my own life, and say, "Ooh, this is big," and I can get through it. And that won't happen every time, but maybe it's something that they discern or learn over years of practice.
Yeah, and you just pointed to something I've been really thinking about lately. So thank you. And that is, so in the space of feelings aren't right or wrong, they just are. And how we are, of course, willing to let a child be exuberantly happy, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And then when they're exuberantly unhappy, that's not okay. And we want to disrupt it and interrupt it.
Yeah.
Now I also get, we want them to be safe and
Sure.
And it's like that, finding that fine line between, sure. And also exuberantly happy can sometimes look like such high energy that there's a concern of maybe doing something you shouldn't, sure. Right? Like that, sure. Kind of climbing the walls, right?
Yeah.
So then how are we providing, and it's like a constant practice to find that balance to like not make either right or wrong, and at the same time let them be self-expressed and experience their emotions, so they don't stuff it, so they have the space to learn what it is to experience an emotion, and then at 16, 17, 50 not turn to drugs and alcohol to numb themselves, right? Yeah. And all of that. So just really looking at that dynamic, how we say feelings aren't right or wrong, they just are, or at least this is something I've said, and then noticing the ways and I remember so vividly, my kids little having temper tantrums, and there is the like, the wanting to disrupt it when or feel like you want to send them on a different path so they are happy again.
Of course.
And they do need space to exhale. I really appreciate what you said. And Mare, so if you can take us to a moment when, so Ruby's revving up and starting to have that exhale of her emotion. And I love how you see that it's a space of trust. I didn't always get that. So I love how you've put words to that, because I definitely experienced that with some of my kiddos and at different times. So she's having this temper tantrum. And what are you doing, like in your body, in your mind, to hold that space for her?
Great question. And I'm not perfect. I screw this up a lot, and I've had to learn this. So, but being who we are and the fact that you and I work with kids, as I learn it, I like note it and kind of codify it and say, okay, this worked, this, you know. So in an ideal situation, if you'll notice during tantrums, every time someone describes a tantrum, they're like, and they kid threw themselves on the floor and started pounding on the floor. And they're like, that's the worst thing that could possibly happen. And in my mind, like the light switch went off. Of course they did. Like they went to the ground. They went to the safe, grounded space that felt, you know, that felt safe and secure. And of course they pounded on the floor the way I want to pound on a, you know, the way I want to hit a tennis ball hard. Like they're looking for nervous system feedback to help them self-regulate in that moment. And it's really disturbing to us. So I do the same thing, but in a slightly different way. So if she's revving up, I get low and down on the floor. And that's serving two purposes. I'm at her eye level, so I'm not looming over her. And also so that I'm grounded. Sometimes for my nervous system, that's not appropriate right away. And I might walk in a circle or shake and wiggle. You can't see me on the screen, but like, it does make my heart beat really fast. It does make my blood pump. It does put me in a fight or flight space when she goes there. So I need to do things to rid myself of that energy, but I need to make it look, I need her to feel safe while I'm doing it. So for me, it can't look like pounding on the floor in that moment. It could, or it can't be yelling, or it can't be doing something violent, but I need to release it. So feel your body impulses. So maybe that means doing some squats. Maybe that means getting low on the floor and really putting your feet on the floor. Feeling my feet has been invaluable. So truly putting my mind in my feet when she's in the moment. The great thing about putting my mind in my feet is I feel connected and grounded. I'm low to the floor. And I'm not thinking about ways to talk her out of it. So the temptation is, you know, she was mad about the pipe cleaner, is for me to talk about how easy it is to fix the pipe cleaner. And we all do that.
Which
it's okay to say those.
Diminishes, right? Diminishes right. What it was for her in that moment.
Right. So, yeah, so you think you can solve it, and then you realize really rapidly that it wasn't never about the pipe cleaner, and that it's never wrong to use those words. I'm sure they're being registered, but that's not going to stop anything. So feeling my feet, sitting down takes me out of my verbal center so that I don't feel like I have to talk her out of it with logic, because logic is not going to work in that moment. And then once I feel my feet and feel my physical body, I can come back to my center, my core. And sometimes that allows me to take a deeper breath. And sometimes I feel the tightness and feel how everything has been sucked in and how my body is in fight or flight. And I'm saying, okay, this is where I am right now. I'm not ready to take a deep breath. My lungs aren't ready to take a deep breath yet, but here I am. And sometimes just acknowledging that opens up a little bit of space to move towards that breath. But that preliminary step is really important. And then once I can get control of my breath, I'm breathing for myself, but she's not going to breathe for herself. So one of the things I learned the hard way, and I'm taking a long time with this because it's important. One of the things I learned the hard way is that saying breathe, take big breaths. Because we know that her nervous system, like her heart has gone into fight or flight. Like she does not have oxygen available to take deep breaths. Physiologically, that's not available. So telling somebody in that state to take deep breaths is more frustrating because they can't obey you. They can't take that in. Their body isn't ready yet. It's great on the tail end. So letting her move through that moment and just being present so she can see what my body is doing. And ultimately my body will communicate that back to her body. It's not perfect. It's not seamless. And then this is the last thing that I think is forgotten, the last piece of it. And I learned this from my therapist, and I'm still learning it, is that after a situation like that, where you've both been so activated, there is a drop off the cliff. Like, so much adrenaline and cortisol has been released that you feel wobbly and exhausted and shaky. And you're not in your, you're not ready to do a very hard math problem in that moment, right? To put it really, you're not in your prefrontal cortex. You're still stuck in your emotional sensors of your brain. You're moving out of them, but you're still there. So to give yourself space to experience the slow, the come out of it, and to not demand in that moment as best you can that you put on shoes and jump in the car. And sometimes that's not available to us. Sometimes that's the reason we're having a tantrum and we really have to do that, right? But at least to acknowledge that that's going to be really hard if you don't have the space. So the kind of the order of progression there was get low, feel your feet, feel your core. When you're ready, take deep breaths.
Yeah, and I hear compassion, self-compassion, and then even in that ending part, kind of and correct me if I'm wrong, like acknowledging and walking through what it feels like now. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, like in talking about what's next, or if what's next is getting in the car, like I get. Yeah. We just had a lot of energy, and I get we don't want to get in the car, and this is what that's going to look like. Yeah. Or something like that. Yeah.
How can I even say it way better? Sometimes it's how can I support you? Like, let me carry your shoes.
Yes.
Let me carry.
How can I support you in the next move? So beautiful. Yeah. Awesome. Oh, I love that. I wish I'd had that when, 13 years ago, whenever it was. Beautiful.
And I just want to reiterate that it doesn't always happen that way. A lot of times it's after the fact, and I can go, but the cool thing is going back and saying, hey, I wish in this moment I could have been this way. What about you? What did that feel like for you? Yeah.
Yeah. And I appreciate you acknowledging how I do try to do that with my kids. And I think it has been a huge game changer, and a way that I have allowed myself to communicate vulnerably with them, and be honest. And I think, and how I feel that's now happening now a couple of years into it, is in the moment of maybe me losing it and yelling, that I didn't catch my emotions quick enough, and blah, came out, right? And Grace, my 11-year-old, saying, in this particular case, we were going to watch a movie, and she said, so I guess you don't want to watch a movie now. And she's remembering like the times when I have let it get, I haven't caught it, and I've reacted, and then I've let it take me out for a couple hours. And often what the taking me out for a couple hours isn't that I'm still angry, it's that I haven't created the self-compassion and the awareness of, okay, you yelled, and then I get mad at myself for yelling, and probably even put on that stereotypical, oh my gosh, I'm a yogi, I shouldn't yell. But now what that looks like is, again, it's all awareness. It's, I lost it. I've got some heat of anger going on, Grace. I am going to watch that movie because I love you, and I'm going to work through this. So give me 5.
Yeah.
And part of what I want to say is great in that moment is how I think because of talking through it with her, even when she was really little, is so she gets there's this language, or even she watches me now and she's just kind of like, Mom didn't catch it. Like she's not freaked out is what I want to say.
Yeah. And then when it happens to her, she'll say, hey, there's a path in both directions. Like this, there's a way. I'm not perfect either, and that's okay. I experienced something, and that's okay.
Yeah, and in the land of like perfect, it's like we're perfect in our imperfections.
Yeah.
And we're perfect in our being on the path. Yeah.
Thank goodness.
So, and speaking of path, Mare, you are up to some really big things in your life, and making some huge differences and creating spaces where people are having huge transformations around you. And I would love for you to share those.
Well, and we didn't talk about this, but I think it's all of a piece with what we've been talking about, and it's been an evolution for me too. But I do help people with nutrition and health coaching through a 30 days program that I do. And what's important about that for me is that my main, what's swirling around in my mind right now is just the words information, not deprivation. That food can be a vehicle for health and sustainment and nourishment and love and warmth. And it can also be addictive. It can be something that's causing harm. And a lot of that is very individual. But we've kind of discovered some principles along the way of what helps most people learn that information they need to make great choices for themselves and their bodies. And this is not about weight loss or about conforming to anything, but it's about gathering information about what nourishes you and what feels good for you and what gives you the optimal energy for the things you want to accomplish in life. And I do that with a program with Arbonne because I like the supplements they offer because I feel like they are nourishing. They follow a lot of these yogic principles, and then we teach you how to cook in ways that feel sustaining and feel like they can be accomplished in our busy lives, and that feel good in the kitchen. We teach you how to talk to yourself in ways that are supportive, and we teach you how to look at what you put in your mouth as nourishment, as just that, as nourishment, and not as escape, and not as gosh, I've been through all the iterations. I've been through eating disorders. I've been through all of the mind talk, and I want to help people avoid that. And at the same time, I know that we also have just a food system in America, in our Western culture, that is not. I mean, all of the junk food is not making us feel better. And I just want people to know that there's another option out there that can help you feel full and healthy and nourished and supported, and that you can have all the support you need to get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of work.
And I personally have participated in the 30 days a few times with Meredith, and the first one that I did, it was a transformation literally on a cellular level. And I recall in the day when probably there was like the I don't know what you call it, Meredith, 'cause I know you know what I'm talking about. Like,
yeah.
It was like the ultimate maybe moment of cleanse. I don't know. And it became very emotional.
Yeah.
And I was able to release. It was like just a time of I just felt release in my body, and from a deep cellular level. And my life changed. And in fact, in that moment, just briefly in that moment, what I got was, I really want a relationship with my mom. And
I remember that.
If you take that was a turning point. And even to take that 2 weeks ago, I had a phone call with her where she said to me that I was her best friend. Now, that was not going to happen. And it was in the process. And I've done a lot of work and a lot of things that have come since those 30 days. Including some additional time. So I can't say enough about how
thank you.
transformative really it is. And I'll also share, I didn't go into it thinking I would get my mom back. Right? Like, it's a cleanse because I want to never, right? It was about really wanting to feel my best. So Meredith, what is a great place people can reach you to learn more about how to get involved with what you're up to?
Oh, that is a great question. I'm not entirely sure because of course that's not what I've focused on, but so you can find me on Facebook, Meredith Blanks Paterson with 1 T. Reach out to me. Feel free to send me a message there. I'm arbonne.com/Meredith Paterson. Maybe we can put a link somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's it. But reach out to me because I'd love to give you more information. And going directly to that website won't give you the information that that we can personalize a little better. And Beth can always get you to me. My email is MERE. Well, I don't know if I should say this on YouTube. Anyway, we'll figure it out.
If you, when you want her, you contact me or her. We'll help you connect. That's so great. Yeah. Well, Mare, I'm so grateful to have had this time with you, and for other people to get to know you and what you're up to, and such a meaningful journey, but really your willingness to be here and share such real, raw authenticity. I'm really grateful. And I want you to come back and share with us more about how things are evolving, how the path is traversing, and just as you're discovering new ways of, being that mindful parent. So will you come back?
Thank you. And thanks for creating this space to talk and offer different ideas, different ways of being. And I hope that if you hear this and it helps, let us know. And if you hear this and you have other ideas, let us know that too, because the more we talk about it and lean on each other as a community, I think the better we get.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you. And thank you for listening. And we will catch you guys soon.